Continuing to read Calvin's Institutes of the Christian Religion, here in the Prefatory Address. But our opponents tell us that their miracles are wrought not by idols, not by sorcerers, not by false prophets, but by saints, as if we did not know it to be one of Satan's wiles to transform himself, quote, into an angel of light, unquote, 2 Corinthians 11, verse 14. The Egyptians, in whose neighborhood Jeremiah was buried, anciently sacrificed and paid their divine honors to him. Did they not make an idolatrous abuse of the holy prophet of God, and yet in recompense for so venerating his tomb, they thought that they were cured of the bite of serpents? What, then, shall we say but that it has been, and always will be, a most just punishment to God, to send on those who do not receive the truth in the love of it, quote, strong delusion that they should believe a lie, unquote, 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 11. We then have no lack of miracles, sure miracles that cannot be gainsaid. But those to which our opponents lay claim are mere delusions of Satan, inasmuch as they draw off the people from the true worship of God to vanity. Fourthly, it is a calumny to represent us as opposed to the fathers, the ancient writers of a purer age, as if the fathers were supporters of their impiety. Were the contest to be decided by such authority, to speak in the most moderate terms, the better part of the victory would be ours. While there is much that is admirable and wise in the writings of those fathers, and while in some things it has fared with it has fared with them as with ordinary men, these pious sons, forsooth with the peculiar acuteness of intellect and judgment and soul which belongs to them, adore only their slips and errors, while those things which they well said, they either overlook or disguise or corrupt, so that it may be truly said their only care has been to gather dross among gold. Then, with dishonest clamor, they assail us as enemies and despisers of the fathers. So far are we from despising them, that if this were the proper place, it would give us no trouble to support the greater part of the doctrines which we now hold by their suffrages. Still, in studying their writings, we have endeavored to remember 1 Corinthians 3, verses 21 through 23, see also Augustine, Epistle 28, that all things are ours, to serve, not lorded over us, but that we act Christ's only, and must obey him in all things without exception. He who does not draw this distinction will not have any fixed principles in religion, for those holy men were ignorant of many things, are often opposed to each other, and are sometimes at variance with themselves. It is not without cause, remark our opponents. We are thus warned by Solomon, quote, remove not the ancient landmarks which thy fathers have set, unquote, Proverbs 22, verse 28. But the same rule applies not to the measuring of fields and the obedience of faith. The rule applicable to the latter is, quote, forget also thine own people and thy father's house, unquote, Psalm 45, verse 10. But if they are so fond of allegory, why do they not understand the apostles rather than any other class of fathers, to be meant by those whose landmarks it is unlawful to remove? This is the interpretation of Jerome, whose words they have quoted in their canons. But as regards those to whom they apply the passage, if they wish the landmarks to be fixed, why do they, whenever it suits their purpose, so freely overleap them? Among the fathers there were two, the one of whom said, quote, our God neither eats nor drinks, and therefore has no need of chalices and salvers, unquote. And the other, quote, sacred rites do not require gold, and things which are not bought with gold please not buy gold, unquote. They step beyond the boundary, therefore, when in sacred matters they are so much delighted with gold, driver, ivory, marble, gems, and silks, that unless everything is overlaid with costly shadow, or rather insane luxury, they think God is not duly worshipped. It was a father who said, quote, he ate flesh freely on the day on which others abstained from it, because he was a Christian, unquote. They overleap the boundaries, therefore, when they doom to perdition every soul that, during Lent, shall have tasted flesh. There were two fathers, the one of whom said, quote, a monk not laboring with his own hands is no better than a violent man and a robber, unquote. And the other, quote, monks, however assiduous they may be in study, meditation, and prayer, must not live by others, unquote. This boundary, too, they transgressed, when they placed lazy, gormandizing monks in dens and stews to gorge themselves on other men's substance. It was a father who said, quote, "It is a horrid abomination to see in Christian temples a painted image either of Christ or of any saint," unquote. Nor was this pronounced by the voice era single individual, but an ecclesiastical council also decreed, quote, "Let naught that is worshipped be depicted on walls," unquote. Very far are they from keeping within these boundaries when they leave not a corner without images.